Good afternoon and welcome to West Coast Model Battleships. I'm your host Dave as always, and today we're going to be doing Dave's Tips and Tricks number 2. I like to experiment with things to make our job as modelers a little easier. So I started playing around with this stuff called Perfect Plastic Putty to see what I could do with it. I like this stuff. It's great stuff to work with. As compared to waiting for the red and the green to dry every day. So I started playing around with this and to see if it would work, and I came up with something that I think works very well, and if you like it, you may be able to use it yourself. So we'll flip this thing around and show you what I do to make this thing work for me and hopefully for you. It may require a few little things that you may have to purchase, as like the putty and a few other things, but it does work, and we'll show you what I do and how it works. We'll dive right down there. Okay, I am back, and I've got the little things here set up ready for you and how I've been doing this, and it's worked good so far. So of course you'll need a tube of perfect plastic putty, and what I do is I use little photo cards from printers, put my glue and stuff on, and I squeeze out some onto the paper. It's a little thick, or you can do it with your finger. And I save these things, they come with mixes and teas and dry powder teas and all that. I just drop it down in there. Easier said than done. Get it back in there. So usually try to get it on the bottom. There we go. You will need paper towels for cleanup, of course. Clean yourself up as always. Okay. You will need to get a syringe kit. You can get these on Amazon, and they have different sizes of nozzles, as you can see there. Well, the first one I usually do is I usually put the big one on first, set it aside, and then you're going to need some water. Get this out of the way. Okay, get that. So clean water works the best. You can use dirty water if you have it out there. All right, fill up the syringe with a little bit of water. And I just squeeze a little bit in there, and you can add as much, just like thinning paint. There's two ways that you can do this. One is with a brush, and the other is if you have one of these paint mixers with a little flat end on it. These work pretty good. So we'll start off with the water and the paintbrush, and I just keep moving it around. Or you can scrape off as much as you need back in there. Throw that in the water, and you can use these things. Clean your tools, of course. We'll go back to the brush, so I make sure I get all the lumps. And you're trying to mix this stuff just a little bit above, I would say, milk consistency. Okay, looks good. And if you still got some clumps in your brush, you can pull those out, kind of scoop them in there, and keep working it. If you get it too runny, it doesn't tend to do what it should do, but it does work. It's great on filling, like my one tip that I showed you about how to use wood glue to fill gaps and seams. So we'll get rid of the water. So we have that clear. Turn your cup at an angle and use the biggest bore you've got and slowly draw that in. Moving back and forth. Get as much in there as you can. Okay, that should be enough there. Set that off to the side, wipe that off. Give it a couple so you get the air bubble up. I usually tend to put a little a napkin or a paper towel here until I get a stream out. Get all the air out of that. Okay, now depending on the size of gap you're trying to fill, if it's a big gap, this is going to be a little overboard. So I tend to use, that's a clear one, and then there's the green one here, which is a little thinner. And it does work, goes through it, believe it or not. Okay, let's get the water out of the way, get out the old beat up one I'm using. So as you can see right here, there's some gaps along here that I want to fill. So we'll do this one right here. And you're just gonna, I usually just hold it like this, my fingers on each side, and use my thumb to press it down. And start a line. That's a little too much, but that's no problem. So as you go along, you can control it. It's that first initial little burst that comes out. And there you go. Okay, you're going to need, you can work this stuff with cotton swab. To remove the excess you want. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. And once it dries, you can force dry this too with a blow dryer, which is nice. And then you can also use a toothpick to come around on the top and come straight down and remove that line of that. It is sandable. It is, you can shape, if you have to make some grooves in there, you can do that. But the Q-tip seems to work the best. After it's dry, you can get your toothpick or your Q-tip, sorry, a little damp, and you can keep working this stuff smoothly. And it does accept paint real well. And then afterwards, once it's all dry, sand it, shape it. This kit's a really poor kit. That's why I use it as that. You can see some in the past I've done some here to get rid of that two-piece hull. You can stick the end of this thing in the water and it'll stay so it doesn't dry. If you leave it out, the tips do dry, so you'll have to push hard and then you got stuff squirting everywhere. But it does work real well. It's cleanable. You can take the paper towel and get it damp and wipe it up later. But it does work, and like I say, you can force dry that with an air dryer and it works great. It does pretty good. I like it. It was just thinking outside of the box one day and experimenting, getting to the right consistency and all that. You can squirt it back in the cup, or if you got a little jar, you could probably make a bunch of this stuff and save it. To clean your syringes, I just draw the water in several times and squirt it right back in the water. And take it apart, make sure that's clean, draw some more water in, and boom, you're clean. Okay, that's a little experiment I did and found out. I've been using it for a little bit of a while now. Instead of the wood glue does work, but I've also found sometimes that paint won't stick to it too well, but this stuff will. Great stuff. You can find it on Amazon. Most of the hobby stores carry it. Perfect plastic putty, and it is water soluble, which is nice. Doesn't shrink a lot, doesn't crack. Great stuff. So with that, we'll jump back up top and give you a goodbye. Okay, we're back, and like I say, that's what I was experimenting one day and decided to try this out to see if it would work after trying the wood glue trick. But it's called Perfect Plastic Putty. Like I say, it's water soluble. You can do out of the tip there, or it comes with a little blue tip to make finer dabs if you want. Works great with the little, I use these. They're little flexible ones to pack into really high, tight spots. You can get in there, and the nice thing is too, you can just slide that thing down and clean it up. The toothpick and the Q-tip seem to work the best. Any residue can be washed off later down the road after it dries. So I hope you enjoyed that. It's a little trick that I learned, and I thought I'd share that with you. So if you like, leave a comment. Any questions about it, give me a shout out and I'll reply back to you. And if you're interested in a shop card, I do trade shop cards. I'll post all that at the end, and I hope you have a good day.